First, I want to start this video with a shout out to a student of mine named Zoe. I mentioned her in another video, but I need to do it here, especially when this one is about my art classes. She's currently in her sophomore year of Frank Sinatra High School, which is a fine arts high school here in New York City. She's majoring in art talent. I'm going to boast a little bit because I'm very proud of her, but I could see the talent in her. What you're looking at right now is her portfolio that we sent to Frank Sinatra High School, and I'm being very kind to Zoe. I'm muting her narration of her work. That was a little rough. She was only 12 at the time, and she had to speak about her inspiration and her intention and her methodology, which is a lot to ask a 12-year-old to talk about. But I think her work speaks for itself. But more importantly, she had the determination, and I'm so glad that she didn't give up, that she makes the trek all the way from Staten Island to Queens because she loves her art that much, and you can see that she's very talented. And not to brag on myself, but she is the third person that I did get into a specialized high school, maybe the fourth if you consider my own child who went to Talent Unlimited High School. But we worked a few late nights on Zoe's portfolio, and my portfolio got me into Art and Design High School, and then I helped another artist that I work with get into Art and Design High School, but she decided not to follow through with the school. It is a rough school in the middle of New York City. So I also didn't go to Art and Design High School because it was a rough and tumble school, especially in the 80s. But Frank Sinatra is a beautiful high school. It was built by Tony Bennett about 20 years ago, and there's a film studio and a theater near there. There's also a great fine art school in Gramercy Park that opened a few years ago, and with fine art programs going the way of the flood, if your child is artistically inclined, this might be the way to turn if it's something you want to nurture. So you should start early. You should start them young. But if you have a child that has been doing it all along and you want to know if they have the talent to get into a specialized high school eventually, please, by all means. I love to do portfolio review, and I would be more than happy to help. And with that being said, let's proceed with the video on how to draw an eye. So this is how I teach a child how to draw an eye. I don't have Emily here with me now, so I shouldn't have any distractions. Of course, we will do it together on the next video. So what I usually do is I teach the children about symmetry. I teach them that the face is symmetrical and that what one goes on one side of the face, if you're doing eyes, one side of the face is symmetrical to the other side of the face. If you can see that up here, I'll try to highlight that. But when you do the eyes, this is the center plane of the face. You usually have a space between the nose that's equal to the shape of each eye. So let's say this is a child's piece of paper and we're working on drawing one big eye sometimes. So you just start by making a line in the middle of the page, right? That's the center line of the eye. And then you decide how big your eye is going to be by making two lines on either side to say your eye is going to be that big. This is going to be your tear duct. This is going to be the corner of your eye. So you start with making an arc on the top. A simple arch on the top is the upper eyelid. Then above that, you actually put the crease of the eyelid. So we're going to draw that now since we're up here. Draw the crease of the eyelid and the upper part of the eye. So now, that's the top of the eye. What is the bottom of the eye? Well, first thing we have to do is make the tear duct. And so you make a curve that comes around this way and stops about here. Now, on the top of the eyelid, we make the curve from point to point. When we do the bottom curve of the eye, we do that from this tear duct, and then we make the curve. So we leave the tear duct. Now, you notice I'm sketching lightly. And the reason I do that is because, like I said, it helps you draw and erase easier if you press very lightly on your pencil. That is very important. So that is the outer shape of the eye. And the eyebrow would be, I'll pull it down. The eyebrow would be approximately here. off the page, but that's where the eyebrow would be approximately there, but we're not going to worry about that. Before we do that, we have to remember that the eye is a ball. It's an eyeball, right? And it's inside your head. It's inside your eye socket, and it's like this. It's a round ball. And this is why I was teaching Emily about how light falls on a ball, because that's the whole part of making things look real. How do we turn a circle into a ball? We turn a circle into a ball by shading. But in this case, let's say the eyeball is a ball. So the first thing we're going to do here is draw the tear duct. So we draw around this ball and we make the tear duct. And you don't have to get too elaborate if it's a kid. You just go in there, maybe make a little dent in it. That's the tear duct. Then you come around, you make the water line of the eye on this side. Add that to the bottom. And you can also add a water line to the lid. Now, I drew that big circle to show you where a tear duct will go, just to keep in mind that this is an eyeball. Later, when you shade it, that's how you'll make it look like the corner of an eye. Same thing here. You'll make it look like the ball that's inside the head. But for now, we're going to ignore that outer ball, and we're going to work on creating the actual eye itself, the iris and the pupil. This line above here is very important, this lid line, and this is a big mistake a lot of people make when drawing the eye, especially kids. Normally, when they draw the eye, they tend to put their circle here. And then they tend to put their pupil there, which then gives the eye a startled look. The reason for that is because almost everybody on the planet, regardless of your ethnicity, your top lid covers your iris. And your pupil is determined by the center of your iris. So you must get your iris correct. And to get your iris correct, you make the circle of the iris. It's still a round circle. But you make the top of the circle hit the top of the lid. If you look at your eye in a mirror, you will see that you cannot see the top of your eye. Your eye is not perfectly round. But yet, it's perfectly round as long as it goes to your lid. And then, instead of the pupil being here, the pupil needs to go in the middle of the circle that you drew for the iris. So the pupil would actually go here, okay? The pupil would go there. Then you decide your light source, like I was showing Emily with the ball. Let's say the light source is coming this way. Let's say the light source is hitting the person this way. And that's going to determine how you shade it. So I always tell my students to put a catch light in. I know that's the photographer in me, but we always add a catch light. Catch light to cartoons, we add catch lights to people, we add catch lights to everything. That spark of light in the eye is what makes it look real. So if I start erasing all the guidelines here that I put, I'm going to keep my lid line, I'm going to make it darker. I'm going to keep my iris inside, make that darker. I'm going to maybe I'll make now. They say when you have a enlarged pupil makes a person more attractive. I think the pupil has a lot to do with the amount of light that's flooding into the eye, affects the size of the pupil. If a lot of light is flooding in the eye, that's why when you're hit with a flash, you have a very small pupil, because the pupil tends to shut down with direct light, and with soft light, it tends to open. That's why you see women in soft, dreamy light. Anyway, so here is the light, here is the lid, here is the lid. You can get detailed and make an upper water line. I wouldn't make it too big. So now I'm going to erase before I do the lashes. Well, normally I'm going to do the lashes on this one, but normally I don't do the lashes until the eye is shaded. So I'm going to erase all of this, all my guidelines, all my side lines to show you what's remaining and how I have an eye that is then ready to teach shading, which will be the next lesson with Emily. So hopefully my pencil, don't roll over past my eye. And the lashes go here, of course. I'll give you some lashes. Everybody likes the lashes. Why? I gotta see some lashes. My girl needs lashes. My guy needs lashes. Everybody likes lashes. On the bottom, lashes tend to cross. They tend to look more natural if you cross them, if you really look close. lashes go on at the end. So I hope you found this video informative. I hope you learned something. If you're a teacher, I hope you learned a way to teach your students something new. And if you are interested in lessons like this, I hope you come back for more. Subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. It does help engagement. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.